you, Mayor?
I'm well. Good morning, Joe.
Welcome to October.
Yes, indeed.
in a big way.
I'm in my office looking out the window, and the tops of the autumn blaze maples are starting to blaze.
Yes.
It's that time of year.
We may get a foliage season after all with all the recent rain.
Yeah, I noticed at Mount Wellston Cemetery in Merrimont Park, the sugar maples look beautiful right now. But generally speaking, they say it's not going to be as colorful because of the drought.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it rained out the food truck festival.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, it's a great event, but those are booked so far ahead. You can't have a rain date, and
right.
It's not fair to them to cook all that and then nobody show up. So
yeah,
I mean, if it's 80 degrees and you have a shower, that's one thing. But when it's 50 degrees and drizzly with an east wind, it's not fun.
It's really not. It's the gray side of New England in the fall for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Speaking of Merrimont Park, I was up there last week and I saw the Abigail and John Quincy statue. Looks very nice up there with John Adams.
Yeah, everyone seems to be pleased. It was some nice design work and granite and brick work done to accommodate them in a nice appropriate space there. And the Adamses gave that park to the city, so it's kind of. I think it makes sense, and Mr. Cohen, chair of the partnership, is happy, and some of the ladies that were involved in the issue seem happy. So we had the kids over from Central Middle School when we unveiled them once again, and it was a nice little event.
Yeah, it really does look nice. And while I was there, people were stopping by to enjoy it. Will there be an engraving on her pedestal as well?
Yes. Yeah, the difference was she was in a circle by the church, and there was a raised plaque telling her story that was separate from the granite pedestal, whereas Adams's was on the pedestal. So, so we'll get that squared away.
Very nice. While we're talking about outdoor projects, an update on the road progress in the city. I know that the DPW commissioner was before the council last night. There is a lot going on in the city, Mayor.
There is a lot going on, and that's our job. And Al does a great job overseeing his team. We've got some great contractors doing tremendous work, and I'm very pleased with the progress. We got a ways to go. We're a big city, but and I have run into a lot of folks, and they seem very happy with their streets once it gets finished up. It does change a neighborhood when you do a street all over. It's very impressive. So yeah, it's that time of year where the weather's starting to send us a message of what's coming. So we get a lot of streets to button up, but everyone seems to be on track, unless we get extended periods of rain, which restricts you from paving. But I think we'll be okay.
Curious, we're seeing what's happened in Florida with Hurricane Ian. What are your thoughts about how the city is prepared for such an event?
Gosh, I don't know if anyone's ever prepared for such an event, Joe, quite frankly. I remember the city council, they asked me at an oversight meeting after the winter of 15 where we get clobbered. And I remember a certain councilor asking me, well, do you have a management plan? And I said, well, you can throw that out the window when you have that kind of event. Yeah. It's just, those things are devastating. You see the pictures of some of those neighborhoods, and people that live on a very limited income, living in one of those mobile homes, they've lost everything. I mean, it's of course a number of lives have been lost. It's the governor seems to be doing a great job in trying to deal with it all, but that is tough stuff. So I mean, we are prepared as best we can be, but. And I know he took some criticism that because the hurricane didn't hit exactly where they thought it was going to hit. I mean, How do you blame somebody for that? Hurricanes have that ability to move quickly, stray within that cone, and so it's tough stuff. I mean, this country is as beautiful as it is, has some challenges with natural disasters over the last 10, 15 years for sure.
It made me wonder, where is the seawall restoration projects here in Quincy?
That first phase we did is completed, and now we're in the permitting stage for another section of Manat Ave of repairs. So we're chipping away at it. So we're I mean, there's always more to do, and it's always about money.
Yeah.
So and you can only put out so much work every year. For example, like the roads, you get a couple of major contracts going on. You really couldn't do more than that in a given year. So, we're hopefully we'll be back at it next year with some additional seawall work.
Okay. Okay. Let's hope for a warm, mild winter. I think everybody is.
I wouldn't mind a little snow, but I don't want what happened in 15. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yes. Can we talk a little bit, Mayor, about a resolve passed by the City Council last night that would establish a residency requirement for all new city employees, and your feelings about that?
Well, I certainly appreciate the spirit of it. I know years ago, Councilor Peter Colson, when he was the Ward 1 council, he had brought it in, and it was rejected by the body at the time. What's difficult is that in Quincy, and this is good and bad, right? The values of our property have grown dramatically, risen dramatically, which is great if you own property because that's your biggest investment probably in life. The downside to that is breaking into that market. So if you're requiring, somebody that isn't getting paid a great salary to try to live here, whether they're renting or buying, then I think that's a tough burden to overcome. So I'm going to look at the wording of the resolve, what the councils have a discussion with them, and we'll take it from there.
They wanted to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know that I don't know if it's constitutional. It may have to be something that would be negotiated. For example, in Boston, there's a requirement for police and fire to live there 10 years. And I think it's in the contracts with the unions, because I do think there's a question about the constitutionality of it. But we'll take a good look at it. I respect the wishes of the council, and we'll see what happens.
Do you know what the percentage is right now, Mayor, of employees that live in the city?
That's a good question. My guess is 40 to 50% probably live here.
Okay. There was a suggestion to tie this in with the salary review that your administration is currently undertaking. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, I don't. I think they're two separate issues, and we should probably address them separately.
Okay. Also, as you're well aware, an appropriation for more money for the new police station going into Finance Committee. Maybe you could explain a little bit of what the additional appropriation is for.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is prices have just skyrocketed over the last year, 18 months. And, the whole thing with the pandemic, the shortage of supplies, the supply chain issues, the cost of everything has gone up dramatically. I mean, people see it, and, there's an argument in some circles about whether there's inflation or not. I mean, I think it's pretty clear we have inflation. Whether you go to the gas pumps, whether you go to the food store, or if you're doing work at your home, everything is up dramatically, and the station is no different. I always say to people, think about when you do the kitchen and bathroom over. And if you're doing that in the current times, the prices are dramatically higher. It's just the way it is. I mean, that's not something we can control. So I don't want to. We did go through with the architects, engineers, and clerk of the works any way we could save some dollars, but I don't want to cut back on the quality of the building. I think in the past we've made mistakes, like the police station addition, which was $10 million in the 80s, and it was never right from the start. All kinds of issues with it. So this is a 50 to 100-year building. Let's build it quality. Once it's done, we won't have to worry about it for a long, long time.
Is there a certain time that you need this extra appropriation approved by in order for the project to move ahead?
Well, I would hope it's this fall. I hope the council looks at it, and we'll obviously make a very detailed presentation, answer any and all questions on it,
okay.
And then ask for the council to move on it.
Okay. Curious, too, about your feelings about a plan by Councilor Phelan to rezone the old MBTA garage on Hancock Street to open space.
Yep. He and I discussed that before he brought that in, and I absolutely support that.
Mm-hmm.
I have had discussions with the MBTA about the city's interest in that property. And for park purposes, not under the zoning, it's actually an old zoning code of Residence D, which would allow a very dense project there, condominiums, apartments, and I just think that's a beautiful area, that whole Marymount Park. And if we could put something there that helps with the uses of the current facility, and that means programs for youth and seniors, and perhaps it's a field house. I don't know, but by rezoning it, that certainly brings the value of the property way down, which is something we want, because at some point with the MBTA, with a transaction, then we obviously would like to get that property as a gift from the state. I don't want to be having to pay for it. Mm-hmm. But this way, if, for example, if the council didn't support taking it, Park Board didn't support taking it, it limits the use of the property. because under the old, as I said, Residence D, you could build a dense housing complex there.
Yeah, I think Councilor Phelan said a 20-story building could go there.
I'm not sure about 20-story, but that's an exaggeration, but
Okay.
it's the point that it could be very dense.
Speaking of the T, I know the board met last week. Did the new garage facility come up during that meeting?
No, it did not.
Oh, it
I'm
did
in
not.
I'm in discussions with personnel though at the T about it. So
Okay.
Yep.
That's another issue where cost is getting in the way.
Well, I mean, that's happening everywhere. I
Yeah.
mean, they're trying to get that to a point where they think it's within close to the budget at least, and it's tough. I mean, this is what's going on in the economy. It's not unique to Quincy or Boston, and so the region, other parts of the country experiencing this as well. So, something we're going to have to work our way through. Somebody said to me, an older gentleman who's been involved in real estate over the years, he said, "We need a good recession." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you need a good recession to bring all these prices back under control." You know, I hadn't looked at it that way. I'm not saying I'm favoring on inflation, but there was an argument he was making, which is interesting.
Okay. Well, folks have their own opinions on how to fix things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Appreciate your time as always, Mayor.
No, my pleasure. Enjoy this beautiful gray fall day.
It's part of living in New England.
Yep.
Talk to you next week. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye now.